Hello everyone, this is Damon with Pixnub Software. And this video is the first video in a series of videos that will be going over how to convert your templates into dynamic PSD templates. And I'm going over the Foggy Night template in this video, and I'm doing so because this is a fairly straightforward and easy example of how to create a dynamic template. I'm not going to be going over the entire template creation, but just how to set up the actions for this template to make it dynamic. Now, this template already comes with the actions set up for you, but I'm recording this video just to show you an example of how you could set up other templates in a similar manner. Now, if you want this template to follow along, it is available on the Pixnub website, and I included a link in the video to this template. You can try to follow along without the template as well, but it probably is a little bit easier if you have the template and have the actions to reference to go along with the video. So before I get started, just a couple of things to mention. And the first thing is, don't think that you can watch one of these videos and copy step by step what's in this video to another template. Every template is going to be a little bit different, and it's not a paint by numbers type of a thing where you can just use the same set of steps for every single template. You really need to instead understand how the actions are built, and that way you can adapt different techniques and different steps to your own templates. The second thing is regarding Pixnub support. I just want to lay the groundwork for what I do and do not support as far as actions go. Now, if you purchase a template on Pixnub that comes with the actions, I guarantee those actions will work with or without Sports Photo Automation, so I will support those. If you're setting up actions for your own templates, or you're purchasing somebody else's templates and setting up actions, I don't provide support for how to set those actions up because that's really beyond the scope of Pixnub support. I will support Sports Photo Automation for it to play an action, but if that action does not work properly or it doesn't work properly within the Sports Photo Automation environment, that's really not my responsibility to help everybody in the world set up actions for third-party templates. And the chances are I won't even know how to in many cases because I don't have those templates. I don't know how the layers are set up. And like I say, every template is going to be different. So that's really up to you and the designer to figure out how to set up the actions for non-Pixnub templates, which I hope to explain different techniques in different videos to help guide you along so you can use those techniques to set your own up. But at the end of the day, I can't set up everybody's actions for them. So just so everybody understands that going forward. But I do encourage you to set up actions for your own. It's just that I can't provide support for all the templates in the entire world for how to set up actions for those templates. All right, let's just get going on this one, and I'll just show you real quick. Let's first get rid of the player here, the SPA player, so just so we can see the template a little bit better. And the only thing that these actions do is just changes the color of the fog and the lights. And like I say, I chose a very basic example for this first instruction video because it's a pretty easy one to accomplish. And this action itself is only 5 steps. And all these actions I could set up in just a couple of minutes, but I'll slow down a little bit for the video. But I mean, this is, like I say, a very simple setup. Now, before I actually start in with the action, for this particular template, I want to explain a little bit something about smart objects so you can understand what these actions and templates are doing and how they work. Now, this template works on a duplicated smart object, and I'll just show you here because it's a little bit easier in a blank document. I've got a color fill layer inside of a smart object. So this color fill layer is blue. If I double click the smart object, it's opening that in a new document. You can see this is just a single layer. Now, one thing cool about smart objects is if you duplicate them by using Control or Command J, that's Control J on Windows or Command J on Mac, those are linked. So I'm just going to name this Control J. And let me duplicate this one again. So now I've got 2 that are duplicated with Control J. So now I'm going to do something a little bit different to make a new one. I'm going to copy and paste just so you can see the difference. So if I select this layer, Control C or edit copy. Then I'm going to Control V or edit paste. So I'm just going to call this one copy paste. Okay, so now I've got 3 copies, 2 that were copied using Control J and 1 that was using copy paste. So if I double click on this and change this color, I'm going to save the smart object. So I did hit a Control S to save it, and as soon as I close the smart object, you can see that these 3 layers are all that same color, but the top one isn't. So how smart objects work is if you duplicate by using Control J, that is linked to the smart object you duplicated from. So any changes you make to one will make a change to the other, and you can duplicate those as many times as you want. However, if you duplicate by using a copy and paste, that makes a new instance of the smart object which is not linked. So that's very important in your template setup for how I did this Foggy Night template. Because if you try to use this technique and you copy and paste a smart object layer, it's not going to be linked to the others. And that's going to make a little more sense when I go into the template here and just show you. So this particular template, it's got one smart object that's a color fill layer. And before I get moving on this, I'll just mention that there's at least 4 or 5 different ways I could have done this template. This is just the way I did it. So if you see other techniques in other videos that do a similar color change, you can use those as well. But just this is the one technique I chose for this template. But in any case, if I just show you here, if let me find all the layers. Pretty sure there's 4. Yeah, there's 4 of them here. So all of these smart objects, you can see they're all red right now, and these are all linked to this smart object below. So if I open that smart object, change the color, and then save the smart object and close it, you see that now all 5 of these smart objects change. And that's how these actions are built, is they are just changing this one layer down below, which in turn changes all 4 of the layers, which set the color for the fog and the lights and the glowing around the lights. I'm not going to explain how all the layers in the template work other than this one smart object links to all of the others. So if you have a template where you have a color that you can use a color that's duplicated many times to change different things, this is a technique you can use to make a quick action for the template. So if I just play this red action again here, you see that it made this red, and all of those layers are red here. All right, so for this technique, it's probably best if you figure out all the colors you need first before you start the action. That way when you're recording the actions, you don't have to try to figure the colors out. So just have in mind what colors you want. I'm going to make a brand new set, and we're going to do this from scratch. So I'm just going to go up here and click New Set. I'm just going to call this Foggy Night 2, just to give it a whole new set. And then I'm going to start on the first action. So I'm just going to now create a new action. Just going to call it green. Okay, so importantly, the thing you want to do when you start recording your action is before you start, make sure you have a different layer selected, because the first step in this action you want is to select this smart object layer. If you don't do that, if you select the layer first and just start recording, what's going to happen is if you try running that action and that layer is not selected, it's going to throw an error because it's not going to be on the proper layer. So you want that action to actually select that layer. And if you're running Sports Photo Automation, it's not going to end up on this layer before the action starts. The action is going to have to tell it to go to that layer. So that's your first step. The next step is you just double click on the smart object. And that's what this edit content step is. It's just saying edit the smart object. Now I'm going to select the color I want. I'll just go 120 green. I'm not even sure if this is the exact shade of green I used. You can actually see here. That's why I say have the colors you want in mind first. And that was actually not the color of green I used. Any case, it doesn't really matter for this demonstration, but just know that try to have those colors picked out before you start. Okay, so I'm going to now save this, and I'm going to now close this, and those are the 5 steps for the action. So now I'm going to hit stop, and now we have this action. So let me go back to one of the other ones, play it, go back to our new one, and this should set the color back to green. Like I mentioned, I did use a different color of green than I did in the original set, but it doesn't matter. Just for your own actions, pick the colors you want. So now we just need to make the other actions, but instead of recording all of those again, I'm going to do something a little bit easier because I like to copy paste. It's just going to save you a lot of time. So we've got, see, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 8 colors here, so I'm just going to duplicate this 7 more times. I'm just going to duplicate a couple of them just because there's no need for you to watch a video for me to do all 8. I'm just going to duplicate a couple more. Let's just call this red and blue. I'll just make the red and blue. Because like I say, doing 8, the steps are not going to be any different than just doing 3. So now that we've got these are all identical copies of the green. So if we play this action, it's just going to set the green color. But what we can do, because we know that the only step that's going to change is this set current fill layer step. That's the only one that's going to be different. So what I'm going to do is actually go into this smart object. I'm not recording anything on the actions here. I'm just going into the smart object. So we know this is the point where it's supposed to set the new color. And so since this is a layer that's setting, making an adjustment, if we just, again, not hitting record, if we just double click this, I'm going to set this up to red here, and hit OK, you see it actually does record and updates that step to those colors. So now I'm going to go to the blue, do the same thing. I'm just going to double click. Like I say, I don't remember if these are the exact colors I used in my original actions, but for the video, it doesn't matter. So now you see that by double clicking and going into that, I've set those colors, so those are all now each their own. So now I can just close this. I'm going to hit no to the save, and make sure you didn't hit record before you did that. By double clicking that step, it starts and stops the recording just for that one step to make the changes. So now I've got 3 actions, red, green, and blue. So let's play the blue. You see that worked. Let's play the red. Let's play the green. So all 3 of those worked. Now one thing I do recommend is using a default set in your actions. And with the defaults, that way the user, if they want to get back to just the standard colors used for the template, they just click the defaults, they know it's going to get back to standard. So in this case, green was the default for the template. So we'll just duplicate that and just call this set defaults. And so that one should be the green. Although it is an identical action to the green, at least the user of the template, if you're sharing this with some of your coworkers or whatever, they know which one the default is. And in some cases, it won't be as straightforward if there's multiple things the actions are doing other than just one color. And so it's always just a good idea to have some defaults. Anyway, pretty straightforward. If you didn't pick all this up on the first go around, just watch the video again. Like I say, this is a very, very basic application just for changing a color in a template with some actions, and in this case, just a 5-step action. And the bigger thing that you'll have to do on your own is figure out if this technique is one that will apply to your specific template. And then if so, then you'll have to, of course, go and set up all of your duplicated smart objects to where you want to make those color changes. And as mentioned, there are other ways to do this exact same color change without smart objects. And I do cover other methods in the other videos with the other templates that are using other methods. So don't feel bound by one specific technique. Explore the options and just adapt on your own. So make sure to watch those other videos as well. And I hope you learned something from this.